to blokes trying to be 1% better every day?
That's a good question. I would say that make your bed. It's a small thing, but I think just, little chores like that lead to setting yourself up for the rest of the day. And I've found throughout, my whole journey with YouTube and stuff, just getting on top of things, even if it's, housework and gardening and stuff, just clears the head and it tells you that you can succeed. And it's motivating.
Yeah, Rose is going to hope I take this piece of advice.
Look, that's not the first time I've heard making your bed as a really integral part of Jacob, he spoke about routine.
Yep.
So I've heard it across numerous different books, platforms, podcasts, all this kind of stuff. I think David Goggins, like if you've ever heard of him,
isn't there like the old Navy chief or something that does the?
He's like a marathon runner, like dude. He's a Marine.
might be
Anyway,
thinking of,
he's a weapon.
Jocko.
But he sort of talks about that point of making your bed, and it sets up your day.
You can't be running around having things unfinished, because if your life is like that, everything just comes undone, and you're just gonna run away from everything essentially. So I think it's a small, simple thing that can make a huge difference.
Yep, I agree. And I know that all too well, that particularly that running away with all the little things, being a bloke with sort of self-diagnosed ADD, I am someone that does see the shiny things and just like, ooh, squirrel. He's just like sort of all over the place. Mate, so just very quickly for those listening, if you're going to get something out of this episode, please like, subscribe. We would love you to continue listening to our stuff, and it really does help us grow. If you've got any comments on what you would like to hear in the future, please drop them down below. So, Rob, let's get in a little bit about you. I've known you for a little while, just sort of from the peripheries, but tell us a little bit about what you've been doing, what you do now, and sort of where you are in life.
So for the last 5 years, I've been making YouTube videos, just about adventuring in Tassie, out in the forest, finding gold, just a little bit of history stuff, hiking, things like this. That's probably what I'm more known for these days. It's been life-changing for me, it's something I dabbled in when I was very heavily into drinking, and just had a huge effect on my whole perception of what's important in life and what I wanted to do. So it's been an awesome little journey. It's only been 5 years, but 2 years of those have been completely sober. So pretty stoked with that.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
Thanks,
well done.
mate. It's not a massive thing for like a lot of people. If you can handle drinking, I don't think having like booze for that long is that big of a deal. But for me, who used to drink heavily, and like I used to, just drink until I basically woke up in a pool of pee. It's nice to have that devil off my shoulder,
And look, it is a hard thing, man, and it is a real, like, I want to acknowledge that, like, alcohol, like being, I don't dare say alcoholic, but having a problem with like substances and alcohol it's a real issue, particularly for men in our community. And I know a few people personally that do struggle with alcohol and its effects, and there's a whole industry out there that aims to help people sort of with like alcohol and that kind of stuff. So, don't downplay your effort for having 2 years off the drink. It's a big effort, and it's really
there's a certain percentage I think that it really kind of hits people, and those type of people who once they start drinking, they don't really like to stop. Like for me, it was never about like the social aspect that 95% of people who drink and can drink socially get away with. It's just more of a destructive kind of. Wasn't always an arsehole, but I just enjoyed drinking in excess, which came with a lot of like guilt and shame, I guess, waking up thinking like, what am I doing? Like, why do I always push it that far? Had some serious questions to ask myself.
I might dig into that a little bit, if that's all right.
Yeah, go for it.
Where did you get to, like, a lot of people that do suffer from like substance abuse sort of issues and things, they get to a point of what they refer to as rock bottom. What was that for you?
Well, I never really had a rock bottom. I mean, waking up after partying too hard, well, you know, you say in a pool of pee, I mean, that's pretty bad. But at the same time, like, anybody can kind of have that happen if they drink too much. For me, it's not like I got homeless or anything like that, or ever, you know, was out of a job or anything. But it was, I don't know. I mean, I just partied too much growing up. Living in places like this, it's kind of, you can fall into it quite easily, especially when it's all you know. And I started drinking when I was probably 15, and I'm 36 now, 2 years sober. So that's like nearly 2 decades of drinking, like at least every weekend. When I was drinking heavily, I was like, I'd drink like 6 or 8 beers on a Thursday, same again on Friday. And then if there was something on Saturday, like 12 or more. Yeah, and it was just, I don't know, it's a boredom thing, you know, and I think it was a massive lifesaver for me to find something that had nothing to do with drinking that gave me the exact same actual feeling that I was chasing.
That's awesome, man. And one of the other things that people that do sort of come out the other side, they talk about is the social aspect, like in the sense of when they do go sober, they feel they lose a lot of friends and a lot of connection.
Yep.
Did you have that?
Yeah, I mean, it was a combination for me, not drinking as much, but then also gaining new hobbies as well. So yeah, I still have like my good friends. I probably don't see them as much because I'm not, you know, socially drinking. But they're still there, and still got a lot of love for them. But yeah, in terms of, you know, the people on the outside of those groups, like I haven't seen them for years, and it's crazy. Like I still live here, and I just don't even see them, you know. Like, but I used to see them when I was still drinking. I'd run into them, but now it's like, I don't know. They must see me and run away.
Yeah, you don't even see them at the street.
Yeah. Do you find that during that period, I suppose, that it was impacting your work and your family life too, I suppose, at the time? Like, or
no, not at all. Like I was pretty good with managing it. You know, like if I was, say, Friday night or Saturday night, I could go and play poker and drink for like 8-10 hours or something. I'd be hungover, man. But you know, you're young and you just kind of, you feel like shit, and you just carry it, because if you go to work, like you just kind of throw it away, like you just throw it on your back and you just kind of push through. But there was always that thing in the back of my head, and it was like that shame and that guilt, and you just kind of don't get away from it. It's a very small thing. I mean, being hungover is one thing, but if you don't want to be hungover and then you tell yourself that, you know, I used to go through phases where I wouldn't drink for a month or two, and then I'd drink again. Like, why did I do that? Because as soon as I do it, and I used to smoke cigarettes as well at the same time, so it's just hand in hand. As soon as I start drinking, shit, like I'm just keep going around in circles. And then one day I just put the foot down. I was like, nah, that's it. I'm never drinking again, like legit. And then just did it.
Good work, dude.
Cold turkey. Nice.
Yeah, well done.
So, I've noticed your wedding ring. I know the story behind that, and you've sort of spoken a little bit about how YouTube and that kind of the nature, forest, all that kind of thing has really filled that gap for you. Go into that a little bit more, if you don't mind. Like, tell us how did it fill that gap? What does that do for you now, and why do you do it?
Well, I mean, the whole thing about me kind of quitting drinking in the beginning was I had this idea that I wanted to go and visit this goldfield down in the southwest of Tassie, and it was like a 24-kilometre track. It used to be a 4-wheel drive track in the 90s, and then they closed it down for it turned World Heritage. So it got all overgrown. I used to have this thing on my fridge. It was like a scroll, massive scroll. You could roll it out. It was about 4 foot, something like that. And I was like, one day I'm going to like go down there and I'm going to check it out. And the year that I tried to quit, I was probably sober for like 2 months. And then that gave me the stones. I went and got like a backpack and like a cheap tent and just a sleeping bag and stuff. And I was like, that's it. Like, I'm ready. I'm charged up. I'm going to go and do this thing. And I went down there for 3 days and I just filmed it. This was my first YouTube video. Coming back and just being like, damn, like I actually did it. Like I had this thing on my fridge for probably 18 months. And I always used to talk to everyone about it. Like they'd be over and I'd be like, check this out. Like I'm going to go down here and it's an old gold. Like, no, it's never been documented. Like, it's going to be sick. I'll probably make a YouTube vid.
Where'd you get this fucking 4-foot scroll?
Well, I just went on the list and, like, I screenshotted it and then I printed them all off and I made, like, a collage thing and then I cut the sides of it. Like, I sticky taped them all together and I stuck, like, I cut the sides and, it was just this thing and I just used to study it. And I just thought, like, what a mission that would be if I actually went down there. Because I'd never done any overnight camping or anything like that. Like, I'd never done any hiking. I'd done a couple little trails leading up to it, like Winterbrook Falls.
You wouldn't picture that now. If you're anyone that watches the YouTube videos.
Well, that was the thing. I mean, that was like my first trip. So I think I set the bar pretty high. And then after that, I did the video and I was like, this is sick. But, I mean, even then I was coming back from doing big trips and I'd hit the booze for like a couple of weeks or whatever. I mean, not a couple of weeks, but a couple of weekends in a row working. And I just kind of think like, what's next? Like, you know, what can I start planning next? And then I got to a point where I would like transition and never drink leading up to these things because I used to hate that feeling. Like if I drank the day before, I wouldn't leave. It was too hectic for me to be able to drink doing that stuff. It's like if I'm out there and because I'm feeling like sloppy and I roll my ankle, you know, I just knew that something like that had happened. If I mixed booze with that, it wasn't going to work. And it was good because that ultimately led me to getting rid of it completely.
You've managed to replace one thing that might have given you a bit of endorphins with something obviously a lot healthier.
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, even still when I was drinking, it felt, and it's the same with cigarettes, like I'd smoke and it just wouldn't be like I imagined it would be. When I first drank, like in grade 8, I remember thinking, this is insane. Like it's so euphoric and I feel like I'm in a dream. And then every time drinking after that never happened with that same euphoria, even though it always feels like it will. It's like, I don't know, it's like the illusion gets thinner and more transparent and you just chase this thing that actually doesn't even exist. But yeah, as for the hiking stuff, I mean, I was coming back and feeling like I'd accomplished something sick and it was like I was making myself like just, in disbelief, I think, from what you can do when you actually just put in the effort and commit to something. I mean, I look at it now and it's kind of like anyone could go and do it, but it wasn't anyone. It was me. And like I was worried about it. And I thought like if I did it, something bad's probably going to happen. So I put it off for so long. So to actually cross that bridge, to actually commit to it and then have everything work out fine, get my first YouTube video and then have the future in front of it, it was like a huge step for me.
Sick. Do we want to go back onto the 1%er or?
Yeah, well, like, we can go back onto the 1%er or like, and probably it did, like in a roundabout way. I was sort of thinking about how you were talking about essentially goals and achieving goals. And that is in essence like making your bed every day is like that's a goal that you set for yourself. And then but it's such a simple goal.
Yep.
It's something that can sort of instill that sense of achievement every morning you get up and you're like, I can make a bed. Like that's easy. I can do that. And then that just sort of leads to this snowballing effect of doing.
Well, they're like the things and you should have like at least 50 of them each day. But then you should have one, you know, scroll that's on your fridge that you hit once a year, you know. They're all different size achievements, but just having them and making sure that you can do multiple of the smaller ones, I think is just so critical. For your own confidence so that you know that you set a goal and you achieved it. And there's nothing stopping you from continuing to set those goals, no matter how big or small, because you've proved to yourself that you can do them, even if it is making your bed or a heap of other stuff. It's saying that you're going to do something and actually doing it.
I think that scroll's a great metaphor for having goals, having that lofty sort of ambition for yourself to get out there and sort of achieve something. With that in mind, what you've obviously achieved that now. What's your 2023 scroll?
For this year, I've got some pretty big trips lined up. I've got a couple of thylacine little trips, which will be pretty cool, based on some old documents into pretty remote areas. So I'm doing a collab with this young dude, Miller Wilson. He's pretty funny guy from the mainland. So he's going to come over for that. And aside from that, I mean, being a husband and a father is pretty massive. But yeah, I really want to try to just keep the gears going with this YouTube thing. I mean, Parks has put a little bit of a damper on it at the moment with this whole business license thing. But I think I've made enough noise with it now that they can't kind of knock me back, like after, yeah.
And we'll probably leave it at that. We won't dig into that too much. And I know that it's affected obviously you and collab partner in Levi and the Tassie Boys crew. I'm not sure if it's sort of hit any of the other guys that we've sort of had involved in the podcast, but I'm assuming it would have. Like, I'm assuming that there's repercussions there for other influencers as well. And if anyone's interested in that, Rob has an article that he done with the ABC. There's heaps of other stuff that you can sort of look at. Check out Rob's channel for that. But on that, and we were talking about it a little bit briefly before the pod, how has that impacted you and your family?
Yeah, quite heavily. I mean, I got a Patreon with like 85 people who each month would like make a donation to go towards stuff for the channel, and I had to pause that. So that's like $800 that I'm not getting monthly there. Can't post any content, can't create any ad revenue, can't sell any merch, can't make any money, basically. So that sucks a bit. I mean, luckily we just finished shooting some stuff for telly, so that kind of got me over the line for the winter before I go back into shooting wedding videos.
Is that a surprise, or can you sort of for the telly? Like
the telly? No, it's not a surprise. So on October the 3rd, it's called Adventure Gold Diggers. So it's going to be on 7 Mate, and yeah, it's sick. It's just me and Levi going around Tassie, pulling tens of thousands of dollars worth of gold out of the ground.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. We went out there, we had this idea, this concept, and we're like, because we got approached by the channel to be the Tassie team. There's like 5 teams or something from different states around Australia. And we're like, oh, that's a bit of pressure. Like, they allowed us to film ourselves, which is great because they would never get like a TV crew in where we're going. And yeah, we went in and just hit the ball out of the park. Like, we were like, this is too good for telly. Like, we want this for our channels. Like, this is insane.
Yeah.
And it was, the whole thing was just like, no one's going to believe this shit. Like, they're going to see this and just be like, these guys are full of it.
Were you sniping, or just for those that don't know, like, explain sniping?
Sniping, yeah, it's just snorkeling in the river. You're cleaning cracks in the bedrock and just picking gold and gold nuggets out of the crevices.
Yeah.
It's good fun, really good fun. Like, yeah, it's cold in Tassie to do it, but man, it's very addictive.
How did you go from bushwalking to find a scroll to gold prospecting to like a TV show on 7 Mate?
Well, I mean, they're all gold related. The bushwalk was gold related. It was gold history. And Levi was approached about the TV. I met Levi through gold sniping, gold prospecting, which I started doing on my channel pretty early on. So we've done a lot of collabs. He's a really sick dude. We went and found this grave together, which just like bonded us, and we were really close after that. It was meant to be. That was, I think, second trip we did in. It was like a multi-day trip for this old headstone that was missing for 120 years. And that was an amazing trip. And so he was nice enough to, when he got approached by the guys from 7 Mate to film the show, he said, "Well, do you want to be on it?" And I was like, "Hell yeah, let's do it." I guess everything has kind of been just ramping up with the YouTube. Thankfully, like I've been really lucky that I've been able to kind of create and diversify my channel and my brand as more than just one thing. You know, like I've got history and I've got bushwalking and we do caves and gold sniping and whatever. And there's nothing off for me. You know, like there's nothing I really wouldn't cover. If it's Tasmanian, then it's on the cards. Like that is my niche. It's just Tasmania.
A question the boys had.
Yep.
Do you actually believe the thylacine is still alive?
Well, there's some pretty reputable sources from not that long ago. You know, it's all with a grain of salt, but I would say, I mean, the University of Tasmania just put out, you know, a study that said there's a chance that they survived into the 21st century. So that's coming from, you know, some actual people who know some shit. But I don't know. Look, what I do know is I love going out and adventuring. I love the thrill of the chase. And I mean, people love watching that stuff too. Like, for me, it's the perfect combination because where the thylacine might still exist is remote. It hasn't been documented. It's generally you're going off some actual source that they used to be there. So it's history, and it's just a perfect cocktail for me in a video.
And it's a really good engagement tool because I know that I've watched a video all the way through thinking, fuck, does he find one this time?
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, anyone who watches a YouTube video of someone looking for a thylacine, they obviously didn't because they would be on the news already.
Yeah.
But it's like, no shit. Like, people are like, oh, you wasted an hour and a half of my life. And it's like, well, I gave you a video for nothing, you cheapskate. I took you on a 9-day trip in the southwest, and you're gonna complain about that? Like, far out.
How do you go with? I think we touched on about having a young kid and stuff. How does your mindset in those remote places change now that you've got the kid there?
Well, I've been out. I've only been out a couple of times for one night. Yeah. And look, I'm pretty safe in the bush. Like, I don't consider anything that I do risky, but I do find myself when I'm out there, like, I got so much like scout content on my phone. I'm just like watch him and like listen to him on there. Like, I miss him and Aaron so much. So the draw is stronger than ever. But in terms of like my safety and things like that, it's I've never really been afraid of that stuff. Yeah, I mean, most of what we do is pretty, what would you call it? Risk safe type stuff. Like it's all kind
risk averse. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, risk averse. Yep. So, that's all sweet. I can't wait to take him out as well. Like, he's going to be walking, and you're going to get him involved in adventures. He's going to be a little gold prospector.
Nice.
I love it.
Yeah, obviously we've spoken a lot about like the wilderness aspect of it and your sort of relationship with alcohol and how you sort of got past that. What are some of the other things that people could take away from your life, or some other bits of advice that you could give to others around your sort of management of your own mental well-being?
I would just say don't be afraid to fail. Do something, make a mess of it, and just keep going. That's worked for me.
Perfect.
Try to do better every time, every other time, you know.
Great.
Yeah.
Legend. All right, I think we'll leave it there. Look, there's been a lot in it, mate. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
There has been a lot of touchy subjects as well. Like if there's been anything that has been triggering out of this conversation for anyone listening, please, we sort of advise everyone, contact Lifeline 13 11 14 or talk to a mate. There's heaps of support out there that can help. And often just having a bitch or a whinge to a friend can be one of the most important things that you can actually do for your mental well-being. Thanks, Rob. Where can people find you if they want to see your epic adventures?
You can Google my name, Rob Parsons, or YouTube it or whatever. It's on a few different platforms, but...
Great. We'll link all of Rob's stuff in all the description below. if you've liked what you've listened to today, please like, comment, subscribe, that whole jazz. It really does help us grow. If you've got any comments of any suggestions of what we could do better, also drop that in the comments. And if you know of anyone that would like to be on season 3, we are now sort of making bookings for season 3. Get in touch.
Very good.
All right, everyone.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Rob. Cheers.
Cheers, Rob.
Thanks, Rob.
Cheers.